Welcome to our February 25th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting. Tonight's meeting is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. For this meeting, the Board of Selectmen is convening by Zoom as posted on the town's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please also be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. As a preliminary matter, I'm going to confirm that all members of the board are present and can hear me. I am Bob Springett, Chair. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John Jeffries?
Present.
Robin Hunter?
Present.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kate O'Brien?
Present.
Chris Dwelly?
Present.
David Sullivan?
Present.
Mona DeSulio?
Present.
And on the agenda, we also will be speakers on the agenda, and I'm going to ask them to respond in the affirmative as I mention their name. Jim Rapetti?
Present.
And Carol Lisbon?
Present.
Then we're ready to go. Before we start, Kate O'Brien is going to make a quick announcement.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to let everyone know that we have provided closed captioning tonight as a live transcript feed to all participants. If you would like to hide it, you simply click on the live transcript button in the bottom. It's between reactions and pause and stop recording. You can hide it, or you can also put your cursor on it and move it around if you want it in a different spot.
Thank you, Kate. Citizens' comments? Anything, Kate?
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to move right along. Agenda item, modernizing government services. It's a presentation by our municipal project manager, Dave Sullivan. It's item number 1.1. Dave, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kate, if you could share the presentation, please.
Sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's winter.
It is. I wanted to make sure I had the correct one up for you. Hold on one moment. Sorry, Kate. I just want to make sure that's the correct one. Yes. Okay. Full screen. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Tonight, I'm going to update the board on some of our recent modernization efforts that we've been undertaking. And Kate, if you could go to the next slide. So as we continue to review our citizen-facing services, we're finding more and more of our processes lend themselves to digitization. This transformation enhances the experience for citizens and realizes efficiencies for staff. These digitization efforts are made possible by leveraging existing platforms that we have been implementing to establish a strong technology foundation. Our new website, built on Civic Plus in conjunction with our business suite, Google Workspace, means that we can make these old paper-based manual processes a thing of the past. Next slide, please. The first example I wish to highlight is our new transfer station vehicle application process. The old way, we had citizens filling out paper forms. In pre-COVID times, the citizens came to the town office to do this. They would bring in their proof of residency or their vehicle registration, which was then copied and put in a file along with the application. Once the pandemic hit, citizens had to download, print out a form, fill it out, then mail it in with copies of their proof of residency and their vehicle registration. The folders were then made, filed, and stickers were mailed out. If something was missing or incorrect, citizens would have to call or return to the office or mail in additional proofs. So this made for a very a very laborious and process that had a lot of back and forth and wasn't very easy for the citizens. Next slide. So the new way citizens can go through the website and they can fill out a Google form. This is an easy, intuitive form which allows citizens to upload their documents, which could be their proof of residency, their registration, right within the application. And then at the end, they can even sign it electronically as well. So it's now a fully contained electronic version of the form that is easy to get to on the website and easy to fill out. Next slide, please. So once the form is filled out, and this is where the power really is, the system sends the citizen a copy of their application with the ability for them to review and update any of the fields. A staff member receives an email that an application has been submitted. They review the application for completeness, making sure the proof of residency and the registration are correct. And if the application is good, then the citizen receives an email with an application form all filled out and says that it was approved and they should expect their sticker in the mail. They will also get a notification if the application is either denied or if there's some information that is required. So if there's more information that's required, the applicant can go back into the application and re-upload documentation, change a field. So they no longer have to go back and forth within the town office. They can do this electronically within the form itself. Next slide, please. So as the records, they're no longer paper, they're no longer stored in folders and in files. They're now electronic on spreadsheets and they are completely searchable. So this and all the answers that were in the form have been recorded on the spreadsheet, and as well, and this is really important, the uploaded documents as well are available on that spreadsheet. This allows for staff to quickly and easily search within the spreadsheet for any documentation that has been submitted, or if somebody has some questions and if they'd had their application last year, it can easily be searched and found. There's no need for the paper files at all anymore. So next slide, please. Another example of an onerous system was how burning permits were done. Citizens would call the police department non-emergency line and inquire if they could burn. If they were able to burn, they gave the officer their information. The officer then had to write down and keep track of who called, and this tied up the phone line and the officer's time and could be, hundreds of calls a day. So working with Chief McGowan and Kate, I created a form for the burning permit, which was pretty easy to do. But the issue became more with how do we deal with days where you can't burn? So on some days you aren't allowed to burn, whether it's for its weather or for other reasons. So working with Kate, she came up with the idea of having two identical pages on the website. One page says okay to burn with a link to the form, and another page that says no burning today without the link. Citizens can check the website to make sure it's okay to burn, then fill out the form, freeing up staff time. If there is a call concerning burning, the officer can quickly query the spreadsheet to see if the person did call and fill out everything. So these are two examples of how Dover has leveraged its existing systems and to allow for a more agile manner to accommodate citizens' needs and free up staff resources. We also continue to find ways to modernize town services, and we will continue to build upon these technology infrastructures. Final slide, Kate. So any questions on what we've done so far?
John? Robin?
I think it's great, Dave.
I was muted. Sorry about that.
All right, so we'll go back. John?
No, I would never cut Robin off, especially after I muted myself. Never. I apologize. My question was for building permits. Can we use the same thing?
I think we can use this to proof out a concept for building permits, but I think the complexity when it comes to land use it's something that we would need specific specialized software for. I would be hesitant to move us into that with the existing services we have. And I think it would cause more issues, but I think this is a good way to prove out that eventually we can get to the building permits and have them online.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for that, Mrs. Hunter. You're up.
So I just wanted to say this is definitely a step in the right direction. I think everybody, I can't wait to use it myself. You know, I've been at the transfer station with a car full of stuff when I first moved into town and had to go home to get my P&S so that I could get a sticker. So this is great. It really is exactly the type of thing that when we were thinking about modernization, it was the type of thing that we were looking for. So great job, Kate and Dave. I think you have delivered to your customers, and they're just going to want more.
Is that my handoff?
Yep.
So you got, Dave, how many forms or processes would this sort of approach impact and apply to?
You know, I'm going through and systematically starting to look at forms that would lend itself to this. You know, it has a very rudimentary workflow built in, which is perfect for forms. Like I think the next one would be something like the special alcohol permit that you guys would manage. So it's something like that where somebody can fill out the form and there is a little bit of a workflow in the back end, I think would be a perfect example for something that we could do next. Something else that I've looked at would be maybe how people submitted agendas to Felicia. So that could help as an internal resource as well. So anything that has a small workflow would work great. I think there's a lot of different processes that we could start to pull in that. And then, like I said, if we find something that is too complex, we can then look at a more specialized software for that. But I think this will get a lot of the low-hanging fruit that there's no need for it to be a paper-based process anymore.
Okay, and do you plan to have any sort of a pilot or sort of take it on the road to Boston rather than open it up on Broadway in order to work out any wrinkles with a subset of residents?
I think actually this kind of was our first beta test for these two processes. You know, one was the transfer station. I think because we were starting to work with the fillable PDFs, and once I got into that, it made sense to actually you know, leverage Google Forms for that. And then for the burning permit, that was something that was coming up. The chief called me and said, you know, I have a process. Do you think there's something we can do so my staff won't get overwhelmed? So these are two kind of quick hits that really allowed for us to showcase the foundation that we've built. And I think that there are two beta tests because so far I've gone in, I've been searching the sites, the spreadsheets, and it looks like it's being used. And so I think those are our two beta tests. And, you know, but I'm also believing.
How many people have used this, Dave?
I'd have to look at the stats especially, but I mean, there has been, I think 20 plus people for the transfer station at least already.
That's a good test.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of publicity on the burn permits. You know, I saw things on social media. So
yeah, and there was that that the electronic sign up outside
Right.
the police station.
right.
Good. So a practical thing on one of the slides, I think it's on slide on the one transfer station one, you say documents can be uploaded through the application.
Correct.
How does that work?
So as you're going in, you're putting in your name, your address. Then we ask for your proof of residency. And you can go ahead and upload your document right there. So it's like any other form that you've had from any sort of organization that would ask you for a form to upload. So you can drag and drop it from your computer, or you can click upload and then choose where the file is on your computer and I'll upload it.
Okay. Last question.
Sure.
Why would you allow someone to upload a file if it wasn't complete?
What? I'm sorry. You mean?
But there was there's a review process. So people fill out the form, they send it in, and it comes back where it's missing information or something like that. Or is there that sort of the form?
No. So every field is required.
Right.
But we've had what I've seen where we've had to go back and ask for more information is somebody, even though we asked for certain types of proof of residency, they uploaded something that wasn't what we required. So then we had to go back and say, thank you for that. However, we need, a utility bill or something like that. So it's just more of somebody uploading documentation that didn't fit our parameters.
Okay, good. So that's it for me. Anyone have a second follow-up question or?
One quick follow-up for me, Bob, was Dave, what about things like that we do annually for businesses in town, like the common victualer's license, the food and beverage license, the license to serve at the 3 places that we do annually? Can those be part of that?
Yeah, I think the special alcohol permit's kind of leading the way for that. Once I've started to build that out, Mona has been the one who's been reviewing that. So when it's ready for prime time, but the common victualler did come up right away. So I think those are all good processes that don't require a lot of back end workflow. So I think that would be exactly something that we would do to fit this process.
Nice. Mona gets invited to all those parties. We don't. We're always looking for our invitation. Get lost in the mail.
Mona's my editor. She's awesome.
Thank you.
Robin, any follow-up?
I do not.
Okay, so thank you, Dave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to item number 1.2, ambulance abatements, discussion and vote. And Jerry Lane, our town treasurer collector, will do the presentation.
Good evening. You have the list. It's roughly in line with last year, and it's just over $5,000. It's within the policy that we have that if it hasn't been paid within 2.5 years of now, it's never going to be paid. Most everybody is people that either we never had a good address for, or they haven't responded, whether it's they're unable to pay and they just ignore us, or they've moved and the mail neither gets forwarded nor comes back to us, because it's all unable to contact is the main reason for the abatements.
Thank you, Jerry. So I'm going to just summarize for folks. It's been the town's practice to abate ambulance bills as uncollectible if there has been no activity on the account for 2.5 years. So dating from September 4th, 2017 through May 26, 2018, there are 10 bills totaling $5,609.72 that remain uncollected. So I move to approve the abatements of 10 bills covering the period of September 4th, 2017 through May 26, 2018 in the amount of $5,609.72.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor, aye, Bob Springer.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
Thank you. So now ambulance rate discussion and vote, item 1.3. Summary, it is the treasurer collector's recommendation to increase current ambulance rates by 9% for 2021, which reflect the Medicare rate increase. Jerry, any comments?
Did I leave off the leading decimal? Because it's actually 0.9%. which is the change in Medicare.
Well, somebody left off it because it's a clearly 9%.
That was my fault. Sorry.
Okay, so
I
it's
need
a
a math
0.9%.
lesson.
0.9%.
Jerry, in the memo, it actually says 0.9%.
And that's the increase in the Medicare reimbursement rate for the Boston metro area.
Okay, any comments or questions?
Just that we thoroughly reviewed this last year. We voted last year, Bob, if you recall, Jerry, we had a quick discussion on this. Jerry and I did on Tuesday, just to bring us up to somewhere right around the median rate.
Right.
So just thought that would be worth reminding everybody.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that we probably look at that, our position every other couple of years, right? We do it every year.
Yes.
Robin?
Oh, I agree.
Okay. So I move to increase the current ambulance rate by 0.9% for 2021.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor? I, Bob Springer.
Hi, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you and good night.
Enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Item 1.4, Craig Hughes Transfer Station dedication. Mr. Dwelly.
Thanks, Bob. Back in the fall, during Craig's retirement celebration and recognition, when Craig joined the board at one of your public meetings, there was some discussion at that point around potentially doing something more for Craig, given the length of service and all of the contributions that he's made to the community. And the board at that time had given me an instruction to look into that and see what could be done. And so we put together a small team of staff here together to think about a nice way to recognize Craig and dedicate something in his honor. And we thought that the transfer station was a fitting location. And so the sign in front of the transfer station actually and luckily needs to be replaced. And we thought it'd be a good opportunity to replace the existing sign with one that bears Craig's name and in his honor. So before you this evening is a mock-up of that sign, and my request or recommendation to the board is that you this evening officially rename and dedicate the transfer station as the Craig S. Hughes Solid Waste Transfer and Recycling Facility. And that will allow us on the staff side to go ahead and get the sign put together and then put together a more formal or informal type of dedication / ribbon cutting down at the facility once the weather warms up and we can put a new sign in the ground. I will say that we spoke with the family and gave Craig a heads up as to the the path that we were taking here, and the family and Craig are certainly grateful and appreciative, and I appreciate everyone's feedback. I see Carol out at the meeting here, and I know she was involved in helping make this happen. So appreciate everyone's efforts, and here's what we've proposed for the board's consideration this evening.
Thanks, Chris. John?
The only thing I think that I can add to that is thank you everyone for putting this together so quickly, and that my special request would be that if anybody asks the color of it, I think we should say that the green color in the mock-up that I've seen is to memorialize or to highlight Craig's favorite ice cream at 4 C's down in Craigville Beach. It's a green mint chip ice cream, in case anybody was wondering. So,
Well, I hope it wasn't pistachio.
No. Thank you, everyone.
Robin, anything?
I'm fully in favor of this. I think it's a great idea, and the mock-up was really nice, so it's going to look really good.
Yeah, I thought the mock-up was really attractive. It was an attractive signage. And the man has done an awful lot of work for the town, and he's done an awful lot of work to make the transfer station a reality. And I think this is a very fitting recognition of his contribution to the town over time. So,
I couldn't agree more.
so without further ado, I'm just simply going to move to name the Dover Transfer Station, the Craig MSU Solid Waste Transfer and Recycling Facility.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor, I, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
And I look forward to that March event. If it stays warm, we could probably do it like by the weekend. Thank you all for putting that all together. It's really well done. Item 1.5, review and approve 2021 annual town meeting warrant. The presenter is Chris. Chris, you were getting a lot of echo in your transmission. I don't know if it.
Sorry about that. Does that sound better?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Actually.
Maybe I need to be closer. And then is Dave still on here? We'll have to harass Dave about maybe getting me some A grade.
I mean, if you're going to do this from the fake home, you know, back screen, you can get one of the things with the.
I think you muted yourself, Chris.
True. Yeah, that was my mistake.
I was thinking it sounded great.
Maybe I should just stop there.
Robin throwing the first punch. Ooh.
So a few things for the board this evening as it relates to the annual town meeting. The first is to review and approve the final annual town meeting warrant. This is the final iteration of the warrant articles that we've reviewed over the past month and a half. There's been a few small changes that actually just reduce the overall length of the warrant that I'd highlight for you. That was the collapse of the OPEB trust fund. We originally had that as 3 separate articles, but Nina helped us to pare that down and combine that into one. And then the only other significant change that I'd highlight for the board this evening as it relates to the draft warrant is the inclusion of an additional article that I did not have originally on our list. And that is Article 23, the lease authorization for personal wireless service providers. As the board has instructed us to move forward with the potentially with a lease renewal for the wireless carriers on the monopole behind the DPW facility. Our telecommunication consultant advised us that we would need this reauthorization from town meeting in order for the board to move forward, if it so chooses to move forward with lease renewals at the upcoming year. So this is really just a standard authorization article to allow the board to be able to move forward if they so choose. So those are the major changes on the warrant. You have a copy of it. It lists the proposed date, time, and location, which I would remind the board is a revised location and a revised date based on the feedback that we received from our moderator and assistant moderator, as well as the Board of Health. And that was to really have an outdoor meeting. And if we're going to be outdoors, why don't we do that during the day? And so that's why you'll see Saturday, May 1st at 10 a.m. at the Norris Earl Field at the regional high school as the location. So I think I'll stop there as it relates to the warrant and see if there's any questions, or if Bob, you wanted to entertain discussion on this piece.
Thanks, Chris. John, any questions?
No questions for me.
Mrs. Hunter, any questions?
I do. So I have a couple of questions and I don't know if this is the forum, and I also am probably just stating the obvious, so you can beat me up later. But, you know, I think everybody still recognizes that the COVID situation is fluid. And right now, I'm cautiously optimistic that things are slowly starting to get better. But again, right now we need to plan for something. And so planning to have a regular town meeting on a Saturday, everything we've done and you've presented here makes absolute sense to me and is the absolute right thing to do. It just could change. So we should just, let people know that this is, unfortunately, I really didn't think we would be in this position again this year, but it's still a fluid situation. And so, we're going to hope for the best and hope we can get the town meeting done on Saturday, May 1st at 10 a.m. But we may have to change things as new information becomes available to us. And the other question I had was, given COVID, I find that people are reluctant still to do things. And so I worry about the quorum. And so do we know, has the Commonwealth given us any guidance on quorum sizes? Like I'm just concerned because there's really nothing in this warrant that would attract residents to come to the meeting. And so I'm concerned, will we be able to get 175 people to attend the meeting? So I was just wondering if the Commonwealth had provided any guidance on quorums.
So there are certain provisions in the relief that the state passed last year for communities with open town meeting that are pretty clear and that still continue. The reduction in the quorum is one of those that we have been advised that is still available to us. What I was planning to do at some point, probably not tomorrow, but some point next week, is once we get everything set with the warrant, I was going to reconvene the town meeting preparation group that we've got set up with Jim and Dave and Bob and members of the warrant committee and the Board of Health to get into the logistical planning of the meetings, right? About how we want to set up parking, how we want to establish spacing, how we want to just essentially put together a safe meeting. And through those conversations, if it's determined that, there's a recommendation to reduce the quorum once again, I would then bring that back to the board to go through that process that we went through last year to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot. You brought up things that I didn't even think about, like parking. I keep forgetting how COVID impacts everything. And maybe Felicia, I know there's a group of town clerks. Maybe she can find out what other towns are doing as well. As we keep planning. It's got to be really frustrating because you can't just say these are my plans and they're set. You have to be willing to constantly reconsider things.
That it? The planning assumption was we'd plan for a normal town meeting outside as an accommodation to the COVID situation. And the plan was always that we knew that we would have to adjust going forward to reflect whatever the COVID situation was as we approached the town meeting. And I think that's about the best we can do.
Right, and I preface my comments by I'm probably stating the obvious, but I think it's just a good thing to remind people of because it is constant.
I think it is, and people need to understand that as we go forward, we're going to be constantly looking at the factors that would influence risk mitigation at the town meeting. And I think that's pretty much what you guys did in 20, yes? The only thing we have is a little bit, when we first started to talk about this back in December, we just felt we had a little bit more time. You guys had no time in 20 to sort of figure things out. It was way more on the fly. So
I will tell you, maybe I was naive. I did not think that we wouldn't be having just a regular town meeting in the Mudge Auditorium.
Maybe this year?
I'm sorry?
It's been a year.
Yeah, no, it's, it's just fluid. There's and we're going to have to be very, very adaptable and just react on the fly to the circumstances that we find ourselves in as we approach town meeting. There's just no other way to do it. Jim, you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that it's smart to keep it fluid. And I was on the website this morning trying to get a reservation from my wife to be vaccinated. And I was told that I had 6,660 hours to wait. So I'll still be waiting after the town meeting is over. Chris,
I'm just surprised we got like 15% of the population in about the first month and a half. That was actually a pretty good number.
yeah. Well,
But it's been trying at the very least.
So Chris, has the legislature commented on any of the other aspects that were in place last year? So they will allow a reduced quorum. Has there been any discussion about what would happen if there isn't a meeting? Will we have to go to the Department of Revenue to approve our budget on a monthly basis?
So that's the unclear piece, is around the financial aspect of it and whether or not a meeting can actually be postponed beyond the fiscal year. And that's what I have not received confirmation on yet. So I reached out to the DOR for guidance on that, and I plan to have Nina join us, Jim, when we get our planning group back together, just to be there as a resource. And I've teed up for her all of the, essentially the things that will likely be, discussed around what is and what isn't available to us through the relief options of the state.
Yeah, that's great. I think that would be very helpful. Thank you.
John, any follow-up? Robin?
No, Bob, the only thing that I would mention is just to add just a bit to what you said, 15% so far. There's another 60 days, 63 days between now and town meeting. And assuming just the same number of people vaccinated per day, it's about 24, just about between 22 and 24% of the population will be vaccinated by that time, by the time of town meeting. So I think just following that logic and following the math, you're going to see a dramatic reduction in cases between now and then, active cases. And of course, you'll have a significant percentage of the population who have either had it, have the immunity to it, and recovered from it, and been vaccinated from it. So I think we're going to be in very good shape between.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I've been hoping that the vaccination trend goes up and that the number of caseload goes down and we hit the sweet spot. We hit a pretty good sweet spot last June. So I'm to keep my fingers and legs and everything else crossed as we move through time. Robin?
No, I agree. And Jim, I wish you luck getting a vaccination for you and your wife. I am optimistic that things will get better on the website. Today I was talking to a woman that works for me that isn't even 30, that lives in New Jersey, and she has an appointment for a vaccine tomorrow. So New Jersey's doing quite a bit better than us.
All right, then I'm going to move to approve the 2021 annual town meeting warrant as presented.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor? I, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
I have one last question. There, on the bottom of this, there's an appendix around the potential for a special town meeting in June. Is that something we're going to carry on later, or is this going to be part of?
So that was the other thing that I wanted to mention to the board this evening. Is I included in your packet is a request from Ford Spalding, the chair of the Community Center Building Committee, essentially suggesting that the board set a June town meeting for the building project. And their reasoning is based on inflationary costs with construction. And the thought is that we could save quite a bit of money, or the community could save quite a bit of money on the project if it were to be voted on earlier in the summer rather than the fall. So I don't have that as a bulk of the conversation this evening. That will be likely your next meeting on March 11th. I'm just trying to get a confirmation from Ford and members of the building committee to come and have this discussion with the board. But the board will need to make a decision on when they want to set that meeting, especially relatively soon, especially if it's going to occur in June. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that. And I put together a calendar of events leading up to the annual town meeting, as well as a special town meeting, presuming it's in June, just so the board had a sense of the at times simultaneous work that would need to go on in terms of distributing a warrant, getting out an election warrant, as well as the pre-informational town meeting. So it was really just to tee that up to you this evening in anticipation of a discussion in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Chris. So the only thing I could add to that was a conversation that I had with Ford about the dates in June. I mean, Chris had suggested I think it was a June 12th date, and then with the follow-on town election, et cetera. And it didn't leave, or when I first read it, it didn't appear to leave a contingent date if we had a rain out. And so at that time, I had said to Ford, and we had discussed it, and said, well, maybe if we follow the outline that we use for town meeting, maybe it should be the 5th should be the meeting, and the 12th should be the fallback date. But that all needs to sort of work itself out as we continue to do work. But that would be the only other sort of consideration that I sort of saw when I saw the timeline. And Chris and I had talked about that. But hey, what happened to your right arm?
Broken thumb.
How'd you do that?
It's a long story.
Mr. Rapetti.
One thing to keep in mind for the Carroll School is that it's likely that we won't have a problem obtaining a quorum. In fact, I would think that we might very well have over 1,000 people at that meeting. Oh, I think so.
The most we ever had was like 600 for Rail Trail, wasn't it?
I think it's quite likely, and
400.
I don't know. I've heard it's a large expenditure item. The committees have worked very hard. I've heard a lot of strong opinions on all sides of this, so I would not at all be surprised. We had 1,200 for the rail trail. I wouldn't be surprised if this is viewed as something that will generate as much interest as the rail trail. And if that's the case, I think it's going to be very difficult to plan to be able to accommodate that many people in early June. So I'm just throwing that out as a caveat that you all should keep in mind.
Thank you. And I want to hear the story, so you're going to have to take me out for coffee.
Well, it was skiing. It was skiing.
Skiing?
Yes.
It's the #1 skiing injury, broken thumbs.
Right. In fact, they call it skier's thumb.
You just jammed the pole?
Yep.
Yeah, it can't be fun. Okay, so thank you, Jim. I'm gonna move on. Item 1.7. Review and approve Water Resources Study Committee insert. The Water Resources Study Committee member Carol Lisbon is requesting approval of the board to include in the March 2021 tax mailing an informational insert regarding water usage and conservation. And I think everybody's had a chance to review the insert. So comments, Mr. Jeffries.
I have submitted my edits and I have no comments other than to say thank you very much. And I am 100% in favor of the conservation of all conservation efforts. I wanted to add that, like I have done, my households have done, we disconnected our sprinkler system, irrigation system many years ago, which is, I hope a trend that others will follow. But thank you, Carol, for all of this work.
He reapplies it, Carol, in the summertime. He only disengages it in the wintertime. So
It's not true.
nothing with John.
And maybe we'll have to have committee members, take turns touring around Dover and writing down folks that have green lawns.
Mine won't be one of them.
This letter was, John, thank you for that, but I need to remind everybody that this was a joint effort by Justine and I. We sort of have taken the reins of implementing the education program that was recommended by the Kleinfelder Consulting Report.
Yes, thank you. Robin.
I just would like to commend, Carol, Justine, and the whole committee for their input in this. It takes a village, and they certainly work together to pull all this together. And again, I just think it's the low-hanging fruit and the education that we need to continue to remind people of. One of the things I was wondering, and I did not send this comment, but should we set up a special email address, maybe water@dovermass.org?
So yeah, we had to get this out quickly, and as we
Okay.
started to think about it, the whole aspect of and you and I have talked about this a little bit of finding support to do what we know needs to be done. This all takes a lot of work on Justine and my part, and we could certainly use some town support, if only on computer graphics and all the stuff that us old fogies aren't particularly good at. But I think as we finalize a program, and I believe at some point Jerry will be scheduling an opportunity to go before you and sort of talk about the whole program and where the committee is in its totality, that we can get into a little bit more detail of that. But I think that's a wonderful idea, Robin.
And I think the timing is really good. It's just, hopefully spring is on its way. Today felt a little bit like March. So, and there's so many, I would love to see residents sharing some of their ideas on how they've been able to cut their water consumption. So there are lots of things we can do, and this is a great start. So thank you to you and the committee.
Thank you.
So the proof is in the
Do we
pudding.
need to approve it?
Well, yes, I'll make the motion in a minute, but we need, the proof is in the pudding on the educational side. I mean, if you remember this summer when some signs went up, reminding residents about the drought, we were told at least by Colonial, that water consumption went down about 25%.
Right.
And at the meeting last night, was at the warrant committee meeting last night. And one of the warrant committee members was asking the presenters of the Water Resources Committee about information concerning the drought. And one of the things she said was, I never heard about it. I didn't know. So finding effective ways to keep residents informed of what's going on, educating the residents, has got to be one of the key things that we can do in times of drought. I've said it several times that for people who used to use newspapers, they don't exist anymore. So I don't know how they get information, and not everybody is conversant with social media, and not everybody accesses the website. So we're consistently challenged with how to provide residents with timely information. And I think this is one of the last ways that we have that we can be reasonably assured we can reach all the residents.
I think like many other committees, certainly with my recycling committee hat, and everybody's doing it these days, whether it's town government or schools or whatever, to your point, Bob, you use everything possible.
Yes. Yes.
Right. I mean, it's sort of a scattershot approach. Dover at this point has the official town website, the official town email blasts. Then there's the Dover MA Facebook page. There's Sustainable Living Dover. I mean, there's Nextdoor, right? So you use all those things plus the newspapers, and and email blasts and asking folks to send emails to their email lists, this type of stuff, and signage along town. I've had wonderful conversations with sort of preempting our discussion whenever we have our meeting, but I've had discussions this week with both the library and with Park and Rec, and both Mark and Cheryl are very willing to use their websites and digital newsletters to help send out information that we would give them. My thinking is that we will do a regular sort of like water conservation tidbit thing, little things that go into a newsletter on the corner. Did you know that you can sow and, whatever. So there are all kinds of ways to do that kind of stuff, but I'm particularly excited about Cheryl's thoughts about the library and how she can help and maybe do some kids programs and arts and crafts projects and all kinds of wonderful things like that.
Terrific. So I am going to move to approve the Water Resources Study Committee insert to be included in the March 2021 tax bill.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor, aye, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
Great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you and the committee very much.
Thanks, Carol.
I will
Thank
pass
you,
it
Thanks,
on.
Jerry. We see you.
Mona, I'll be in touch tomorrow about the logistics of it all. Thanks.
And Justine, we know is watching
Is
Hi,
Justine
Justine.
watching?
Where?
always.
All right. Item 1.8, appoint Jennifer Luthi to the Recycling Committee. Due to the resignation of Savita Shukla, there is a vacancy on the Recycling Committee, and Committee Chair Chris Paulson is recommending that the board appoint Jennifer Luthi to the committee to fill the vacancy. Robin, are you going to speak about Savita, or would you like me to do it?
I can if you'd like me to do it.
Go ahead.
So, we would really like to thank Savita for her service to the Recycling Committee. She was a member of the committee for 10 years. She joined in 2012. She did a lot of work on the Recycling Committee. She actually ran the deposit container recycling program, which I think most residents are familiar with. That program raises between $15,000 and $18,000 a year in funds for Dover clubs and organizations, the Boy Scouts, teams. There's a sign-up list, and it's a really successful program. She also coordinated outreach to New Dover residents, letting them know about the recycling programs, sending out brochures and instructions. So we would really like to thank her for all of her service to the town, for all of her creative ideas. We wish her the best in her new endeavors, and we hope to continue the traditions that she started. So thank you.
You're here.
You're here.
May I just do one quick update, given what Robin just said?
Sure.
The deposit trailer program, as Robin said, was fantastic. It has been closed down because of COVID. Bullard's, which was the liquor store in Medfield that accepted all our recyclable containers, chose not to continue in that business. So the only place that will accept our plastic cans and glass deposit bottles is down in Boston. And it's far enough away where we did not feel that some of the nonprofit organizations that took advantage of the program could really do that kind of traveling. So at this point in time, and for the foreseeable future, we've had to cancel the organizational aspect of the deposit trailer. It's now the deposit shed, since it took over the old Mary swap shop. And we have the highway department delivering the deposits to the Boston Recycling Center. And those funds, which are in the $14,000, $15,000, $16,000 range, depending, actually now are going into the general funds of Dover,
Thank you for the update, Carol.
unfortunately.
Carol, is there any way that we can channel those funds back into the recycling effort? right at the recycling center?
Well, I mean, you know, we don't, there are other recyclables for which we get some funds.
Right.
A lot less these days than 5 years ago because of the whole recycling industry, but there are a few. Those all go into the general funds. So when this came up, you know, a couple months ago, it seemed to be consistent with the way we handled other recyclables, that everything would just go into the general funds. I suppose we could, you know, we haven't ever thought about doing the recycling center as some other towns do as an enterprise
Right.
fund. I suppose we could. We're pretty successful in getting grants, and the town has, you know, given us the money that we need and as part of the operating budget. So it's a thought, but maybe in the future when we have some larger expenditures, we might want to think about that. Right now, it seems to be working okay, and it's consistent in the way we approach the accounting.
Yeah, it just seems to be a natural, you know, where you could have a result that is something that is tangible, that people can look at and see in a report, and, you know, something that you could point to that has a positive effect.
Yeah, I mean, Wellesley, for instance, runs their transfer station
Right.
as an enterprise fund, but that's why so many of our recyclables go over there, and how they're willing to pick it up for us at no charge or take it at no charge, because they have an economic model that we don't have. So we've never tried to monetize the recycling, the transfer station.
Yeah, I know it's been an economy of scale issue in the past where Wellesley has a much larger volume of all of the items, so that it makes infinitely more sense for them to do it that way, but it may be worthwhile.
No, good points.
Thank you. So I move to approve the appointment of Jennifer Luthi to the Recycling Committee for a term ending on June 30th, 2023.
Seconded, John Jeffries. And Bob, Mr. Chairman, I would just note that Jen is on our Zoom call this evening and would like to just publicly say thank you, Jen, for your willingness to serve on this committee. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to joining the committee and doing what I can.
They're happy. I'm sure they're happy to have you. Thank you.
So you did make
John,
the second, right?
Ecstatic.
Hang on, you did make the second, right, John?
I did. Seconded,
Okay,
John
let's
Jeffries.
move to the vote. All in favor? Aye, Bob Springer.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
So now that you're a member of the Recycling Committee, I want to welcome you on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and thank you for I'm assuming you volunteered, that somebody didn't wrestle you to the ground and make you do this. So
My arm is still recuperating from where Carol twisted it, but yeah. No.
I had company with that, I think.
Yep, you guys had both my arms, but no, this is completely voluntary, and again, I'm looking forward to contributing.
And we're very happy to have you step up and help us all out. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're gonna move on. Assuming I can get the thing to scroll. Item 1.9, appointment to the Dover School Committee. Due to the resignation of Brooke Matarese, there is a vacancy on the Dover School Committee, and Leslie Leon, acting chair of the committee, is recommending that the board appoint Elizabeth Grossman to the Dover School Committee to fill the unexpected term of Brooke until the 2021 town election. So let's see.
There she is.
Leslie, do you have anything you'd want to say or add?
Sure. I am thrilled that Elizabeth has offered to serve on the Dover School Committee with us, as are the other three members. She brings extensive experience across elementary grade levels and both in management and teaching positions. And without hesitation, I would love to recommend her, appoint her, nominate, whatever it is I have to do to get her on that committee.
I think I have to do that.
Great, you do it.
So Liz, before I make the actual formal motion, this is your last chance to sort of be like run away.
Don't do it.
I won't run away.
Jen didn't have that chance. Justine got her. All right, you will run away. John, any questions?
None, Mr. Chair. Just thank you both, Leslie and Liz, for your service to the town. It's
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you
John.
guys for the
Robin?
opportunity.
So Liz, welcome to Dover. One of the ways I got involved in is also on school committee, so we really appreciate it. It's a different way to learn about the town, and I hope you find public service as rewarding as I have over the number of years, and you'll continue to stay involved. You meet a lot of different people, and that's the added benefit of it. So
Mhm.
thank you for stepping in and filling this position.
Yes,
Thank
thank you, Liz.
So Liz, I'll tell you a story. So a long time ago in a place far, far away, there was an opening on the school committee, of the Chickering School Committee, and I was one of 2 people who applied. You know, it was a vacancy, just like you have applied for. And I went to a Board of Selectmen meeting, first time ever, and it was televised, and they were asking me questions. And man, was I shaking in my boots. And unfortunately, and you know, fortunately for the town, they rejected me and picked the other person.
Oh, no.
But look what happened. I ultimately got elected. I spent their time there. I spent time on the Capital Budget Committee, and then somebody shanghaied me, knocked me on the head, and I wound up in the Board of Selectmen. So it's thank you for stepping up. I actually echo Robin's sentiments. Doing public service and doing good to the town of Dover is a pleasure.
Thank you.
And it's quite rewarding, and you do meet and work with a great deal of very talented and very, very kind people.
Mhm.
So welcome. I hope, I hope you find the same sort of path that so many of us have. So
Thank you.
I move to approve the appointment of Elizabeth Grossman to the Dover School Committee to hold the unexpected term of Brooke Matarese until the 2021 town election.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor, aye, Bob Springer.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Whoops, I was on mute. Aye, Robin Hunter.
Welcome to the Dover School Committee.
Welcome. Congratulations, Liz.
Thanks. I'm really, really excited to join you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, and Liz, no heavy lifting at all. You have nothing to worry about,
No pandemic at all.
COVID, kids going back to school, teachers, health issues, vacations
Right.
coming up, smooth sailing.
Yeah, but the budget's taken care of. The budget's done. That stuff is done. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both.
You ladies.
Good night. Thank you. Board of Selectmen updates, item 1.1. The 1.10. Board members will provide updates, if any. I had a couple of things on Carol. I mean, Carol itself, everybody knows that the building committee picked 2 options to move forward. So we're really at the point where, one of the things is the special town meeting for June. And there have been, I guess, just so you guys are aware, we've received some feedback from abutters about some of the plans for the outdoor space that are going to have to be addressed. We still have to resolve the issues around storage and whether or not we're going to use the Whiting Road facility. And then there's issues ultimately around building management and the financial side, what we're going to do, and then reload of people in the current Carroll facility as we move down the path. So those are sort of open items that will sit with us and we'll have to resolve over the next few months. So Robin?
I also think Jim raised a valid point and something that we should talk about in 2 weeks about, how we set up a town meeting, because I agree with them. I think we have the potential to get 1,200 people. So, you know, we need to make sure that we can fit them outside in the football stadium. So I think there's a lot of planning there too.
Yeah, absolutely. We can combine vaccination and town meeting and have it at Gillette.
That would be great. That would be great. You know, maybe we could vaccinate all, it would be, maybe then we'd even get more than 1,200 people.
Yeah,
All
maybe.
Dover residents that haven't been vaccinated come to our special town meeting. You'll get a vaccination as
That's
well as
amazing.
you can vote on what to do with the Carroll Community Center. If you can pull that off, Bob, you'll be very well liked.
Well, I am on a serious note. We've been, we the town have done the conservative thing each and every time we've tried to get something done for the town that involved the public. Yeah, a joke about that. If we can get this thing teed up for June, we will certainly take the same philosophy forward. It's a serious thing. We talked earlier about the May meeting. We just have to be as fluid as we can possibly be, because as I've said several times, the virus has not surprised us on the upside. It's only been downside. And so the best we can do is sort of plan to have the meeting. It's important to the town. It needs to take place. There are consequences if it doesn't take place, but ultimately we need to be certain that we've taken the right risk mitigation strategies to make sure that the town meeting is a safe thing to hold. We've done that. We've taken that approach, whether it be for air quality at the town buildings, the air quality of Carroll. The schools have taken the same approach. So when we come to do something like holding a town meeting or a special town meeting, we will apply the same type of judgment to make sure that we're doing what's right for the residents and for the town. I don't know if we can do better than that. If we can, we'll do better than that. So Robin, I'm sorry. Do you have any updates?
No, there are two items that I'd like to have on the agenda for upcoming meetings. One is, and I know it's in the works, we're trying to have the Water Study Committee come and present the things they've done and their education. So it would be great if we could get that on the agenda sometime soon. And the other thing I would like to get on the agenda is just to talk a little bit about the water task force. And that was something that we talked about late last year. And it's been a little bit of an issue to get a committee started. And so I would like to present to the rest of the board a plan B so that we can move forward with the initiatives. So I would like to have the opportunity to talk about that.
I just have one question, Robin, on the cap stabilization proposal. Can you bring us up to date at one of the future meetings on where that stands?
Right, so we have, we presented to capital budgets who is in favor of it. We presented to warrant. They felt our presentation was too technical and too long. So we pared that back. And then we got some feedback that maybe it got pared back a bit too much. So I am going to add one slide to it. And then, the idea is, and I would be happy to present that at our next meeting.
That'd be great.
Right, but because both, warrant and capital felt that the initial presentation was just too complicated. It just went into more detail than was necessary. And then the pared back one missed some of the key points as to why we were trying to do this.
Okay.
And we also got feedback that, you know, it should just be more simple and more concise. And thanks to Chris, I think we got there, but there's just one more slide that we're going to add. And then the idea was to put it on the website. You know, we're happy to do information sessions, but it would be better if this could be part of an information session with other things, because I can't see it taking more than 15 minutes. So, but you know, if that's what we deem to be the right approach, I would be happy to do some 15-minute information sessions or 30-minute, depending on the questions.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, Robin. There's a lot of warrant articles coming up for this meeting, and reading some of them, going through the list, it's like I'm saying, wow, I hope we have an English version of what this is so that people could actually understand. And I'm assuming we'll get that. And then the next question is, how do we educate the residents, or provide the residents with that kind of, you know, straightforward explanation about some of these things, because a lot of it is sort of just adjusting bylaws to either bring them up to date or to reflect current law, or to, you know, it's almost really like, you know, inside baseball stuff. And I really wouldn't like I'd like to make sure we inform people about that so that we don't take up a lot of time on some of these housekeeping type items. So I'd like to see maybe one or two info sessions if we can get that done. One in April, one in March, and then March, one in mid-April, to sort of help broadcast what's going on. That would help with the duration of the meeting, which is one of the issues that we are trying to deal with.
Right. You know, I thought the information sessions we had last year, even though they were rushed, I thought they were helpful, and at least for those that wanted to know what was going on, it was available, you know, to spend an hour and learn about what was going on.
Yeah, we just have more opportunity. We have more ways of distributing information than we did. You know, I forget who was, I think Carol was talking about the number of outlets that we have to get information in the hands of people. So we need a little campaign around that.
Right.
Okay, is that it, Robin?
That's it for me.
Thank you very much. John?
Just two quick things to add, Mr. Chair. One was regarding your comments. I just want to say I completely agree with your comments, Bob, about the timing of last year, the reason why it was so important to have town meeting, when we had it, how we had it, the manner, the methodology, all of the work that we did to make sure it was safe, that we were doing it in the manner that was prescribed both by the guidelines and by what Kevin Ban and the committee that we put together to look at the protocols and how we could better the protocols of town meeting, using the outdoors, the spacing, all the things that we did, and how critically it was important it was that we do it. I'd also just like to remind everyone in thinking about this that we've never had a transmittal. We had no transmittals as a result of any of the venues and any of the public things that we did last year, which I think we should be very proud of. So we have proven that it worked well last year, and I think that's going to give people a lot of confidence in how we will approach it this year.
Okay. How about Hale?
Hale has not met since we met last, Bob. There's the only items that we are waiting on, obviously, as I reported at our last meeting, the sense of urgency has been escalated because of COVID, and because of COVID, the items that Hale never didn't want to put on the table, shouldn't say never, they've always been an option. is now going to be an option that's going to have to be addressed much sooner than later, and that is the sale of land to fund their deficit. So there is a much greater sense of urgency on behalf of the town of Dover and the town of Westwood to address the financial need that Hale is facing.
I got one more for you, John.
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing you went to the zoning board of appeals meeting yesterday, and you're going to tell me everything I need to know about the Red Robin application.
Actually, I attended the meeting.
Okay. John, you didn't go?
I did not attend, Mr. Chair, and I'm glad Robin did. It was an item that
I was at the Warren Committee, so I couldn't be at two places. Good, Robin, that'd be great.
Right, so there were close to 50 people in attendance at the meeting. The chair, Alan Fryer, did a really good job running the meeting. He emphasized that it was the first hearing and that there would be many more follow-up hearings. The purpose of the hearing really was for the developer to present the plan for the development. They also presented the studies that they've done, like traffic studies. They talked about, the various committees that they have met with. Some of the zoning board of appeals members are going to visit the site or try and visit the site. They're trying to put a visit in place. For those people that don't know, I believe it's 109. I believe it's number 68. There are two houses there, single family homes. And the idea is to put an apartment building with 36 apartments. It's going to be a rental only. So all of those units will count towards Dover's affordable housing quota. Our new town planner was there, so she was really helpful. And I don't remember when the next meeting is scheduled for, but what the town has to do is hire consultants to peer review all of the work. There was it was brought up that the town would like to discuss water. Colonial Water has said that they have the capacity to supply water to this dwelling. So at one of the later hearings, there will be a discussion about water and Colonial's ability to supply water to the apartment complex. I do not remember, Chris, do you remember when the next hearing is
I think it's the 25th of March.
Yeah, the 25th of March is the next hearing.
Is that right, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also the only thing I just mentioned to folks right now is the public informational session around affordable housing units in the process. It's just a good thing for the broader community to get a better understanding of the intricacies of these projects.
Right. So, and again, Chris, having Courtney at the meeting, she was really helpful. She's extremely knowledgeable. And I feel as though the town is going to be in really good hands with her leading us through this process, because it's been over 10 years since we've had to deal with this as a town. So it's really great to have her in that leadership position. And I did forget about that. She did mention that she was doing this education session. So for anybody in the town that wanted to learn more about affordable housing, it's really a great opportunity.
Thank you for that, Robin. Appreciate it very much. So I'm going to, are there any questions or comments or additions and deletions about the upcoming items?
Bob, I got something if the board doesn't have anything.
Go ahead, Chris.
So just looking ahead at March 11th, we're getting a little stacked up here with town meeting and with the budget. Does the board, I suppose I could talk to you offline as well, Bob, but I guess I'm just curious if the board's interested in foregoing a mid-year update on goals and pushing that toward later in the year. It doesn't have to be pushed too far off, but adding the three things that Robin mentioned, I think they should go on the 11th. But that's just something I'd pose. I guess I don't need an answer this evening. You and I can talk about future agendas when we meet next.
And Chris, I would just like to see my things on the agenda in the next coming month. So if you need to push me out another, if we needed to prioritize, I would say we probably want to do the capital stabilization fund for March 11th. And that might work because it ties into all the budget stuff. So
yeah.
And feel free to push out the other two items that I wanted another week or so if that's helpful.
Okay.
But I'm going to leave it to you and Bob, and whatever the two of you decide, just let me know what to prepare.
She's still delegating. She's so good at that. It's like unbelievable. Thank you, Robin. Item 1.11, Chris, Town Administrator updates.
I actually don't really have anything of substance. The two things that, well, not that they're not substantial, but the two things that I just quickly mentioned is that Dave's presentation earlier this evening about digitizing our services and making the residents' experience easier when interacting with government is now going to provide us with a nice platform to create an online services portal to highlight all of these, to better highlight and better publicize these opportunities for residents. So Kate is working on that, and also in one of your upcoming meetings, she's going to give a more broad-based presentation on kind of a retrospective of where we've been with the website, where we are now, and some of the plans for the future. So I wanted to highlight that this evening for the board. And the other piece is the proposed solar project was accepted by the state. And so the solar company Select is working with our town team, town council, our solar consultant on wrapping up an updated presentation with all of the updated details. So that'll also be coming back before the board, I'd say probably within the next 2 months. So those are just two things I just wanted to quickly highlight for you this evening, and that is all I have.
Thank you, Chris. John, any questions?
No, just one quick follow-up on the ZBA on Courtney's presentation for the affordable housing. What's the date of that? That Courtney's doing the workshop for the 40B 40B tutorial, if you will.
Give me 1 second. You really had to throw me a curveball there, huh, John?
Sorry.
It's March 24th.
Thank you, Kate.
So it's the day before the next ZBA hearing.
Seems to be.
Yeah, so you can attend that and then be very knowledgeable about the
You're gonna have to figure out how to be at that meeting and our meeting on the 25th.
Bob, you know that Robin is about as subtle as a jackhammer when it comes to if you and I did not do something that she did. So, God.
All right. Where are we now? Robin, any other questions for Chris?
No.
All right, then I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. The following items are included on the consent agenda. Approve the February 11th, 2021 open session meeting minutes. I'm assuming everybody's looked at them. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor? I, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
Mona is really on top, right? I mean,
Mona's all caught up.
we're all caught up. She's making these things up. She's doing our next meeting. It's unbelievable.
All she has to do is figure out, make sure she removes things that aren't going to be on the agenda anymore. Good.
Okay, so we have an executive session to discuss contract negotiations with Colonial Water. Item number ES.1. Board members will enter into executive session to discuss and prepare for contract negotiations with Colonial Water. I move that the board enter into executive session, not to return to open session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations with Colonial Water. Further, as chair, I declare that an open meeting discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating positions of the town. So I will, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter, but I think you have to poll. We have to poll
Individually.
individually.
And, Bob, before you do that, can I just ask Mona one quick question?
Sure.
Mona, is the passcode for the executive session in the packet?
It should be in your calendar, John.
In the, I
Yeah.
tried to, all right, if I
We can
can't,
text it to you, John.
Yeah.
thank you.
So when we poll, so I asked John, right? I asked Rob,
Yes.
is that how it goes?
John Jeffries, yes.
Robin Hunter?
Yes.
Bring it, yes. So we shall rejoin in about 5 minutes in executive session. So do I need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, John Jeffries, yes, to adjourn.
All right, all in favor of adjourning? I, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter.
See you all in 5. Thank you very much.